And how you guys doing? Welcome to the show. It's a real big show today. We got a special guest, man, the host with the most. We got Sose the Ghost on. Hey, you see how I did that out of rhyme in Chicago as well, man. We're going to be talking about a contentious subject right off the bat. See, I'm from Chicago. Danny's from Chicago, some New York, and I say 100% we got the better pizza, we got the better hot dog, but I
No.
have to give the pastrami sandwiches to Souls, okay? But we're going to be bringing everybody on right now. Wild on Tuesday joining us later. We got Mike Ball as well. He is, I believe, an executive producer or something with Demons Row, but we'll let Sos talk about that as well. But let's get him in here. We got Sos, man. What's
What's
up,
going on?
Sos?
What's
And
going
then we
on? What's
got
going on?
Danny Pedlo over here,
What up, though?
man. Fucking A, here we go, man. Sos, how you doing, man?
Good, brother. How you gonna say that Chicago got better pizza than New York? We got Little Italy. You guys got a Little Italy over there?
Yeah, we got Taylor Street, man.
Oh,
We
hell yeah,
got.
we got a lot of
Let
Italy.
me tell you something. We got Cologeno. We got Sunny. We got the Bronx Tail. Right in Little Italy. Come on, pizza. What?
We got Giancanos, we got Rosati's, but I got to give you the
Is Chicago
pastrami's,
really that
man.
known for pizza? I didn't know. I didn't know that.
Really? Really? I thought we were
I
starting
never
to get
knew that.
along. Now you're gonna say we're not known for pizza for real?
I thought Chicago was more like Irish. I didn't think it was as Italian.
Oh,
Is
we're
that I'm wrong
vegetarian
about that?
over
It's
here.
it's kind of both, really. It's like everything, man. I mean, we got Greek Town, we got Chinatown, we got Little
We
Italy
all
too. We got man, it's everything, man. And then Humboldt Park is all Puerto Rican, so we got the Puerto Rican food on lock too. So we
Oh,
good.
okay.
We got all
well,
that good stuff.
one thing about New York City, and people are gonna freak out because I'm a Cubs fan, but at the same time, my American League team is the Yankees, so I guess
Yo,
there's a little grit there.
you want to hear some crazy shit? Yo, Hollywood. I grew up a Cubs fan because I played second base. I was shitty, had no arm, so I would play second base. Yeah, I was trash, bro. My father wasn't around. I didn't grow up with my father. But Ryan Sandberg was All-Star game every year. So I was a big time Cubs fan growing up. I was actually like a Mets Cubs fan, and then growing up in the Bronx, you eventually go to the Yankees.
Right, right.
Right. You got to.
Well,
You got to. If you
let's
want to even survive, you got to.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, let's talk about the Bronx, man. There's a lot of culture that comes out of the Bronx. Hell, we see a lot of movies that come out of the Bronx, and it's a close knit people from what I hear in the Bronx, the neighborhoods and stuff like that. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about right off the bat, since we're going to get into, how MCs and stuff like that need to get along and stuff, is the fact that a lot of the kids that come up, through the gang system and stuff, and eventually in the MCs, they really look for that family unit when parents aren't around. And I think we all experience that type of stuff. So we wanted to get your story on that because you really did. You're king of the hill as far as content creating. You're kicking ass out there. I better not swear. YouTube would kill us all. Uh, you're really killing it business wise, which is a great story from how you came up. You went through the jail system, prison system, and you made something of yourself where a lot of people give up and go back to the streets. So
Yeah.
let's hear you up.
So basically, I grew up in the Bronx, um, early 80s where, everything was burnt down. They I don't know if you've seen the interview, but they used to call it the burnt down Bronx because there was so many when the hustlers would get caught up, they would just burn the whole building down so that like the police wouldn't find their work. So they were literally like crackhead mansions and stuff like that when I lived on 183rd. But where I grew up, like Decatur Ave, the Gun Hill area, it was rough. You know how it was in the 80s, Hollywood. Like,
Oh
a
yeah.
lot of people think that I'm super, super young, but I was around at that time. I was a baby in the 80s though. I wasn't like, a grown man. I really grew up in the 90s. But New York was rough. It was rough. It really was. But what else did you
Especially
want me
with
to say?
the crack and stuff was real bad back then.
Yeah, like it took the crack took
Man,
my father away when I was 4 years old. I didn't see my father again until I was 28 because he got caught up in the streets, got locked up, killed someone, got out. But back in those days, you could actually get out if you killed someone. You didn't have to do 25 to life, but he did like a good 23 or something like that.
right.
Yeah, and he was just like he was always messing up and stuff. And then I wound up following in his footsteps because I got locked up from 15 to 17 because when we were young, we were like robbing people. We were so poor that when we wanted like Chinese food, we would like rob the Chinese man. I don't know if y'all did that in Chicago. Did y'all rob the Chinese man? Was that a
Oh,
thing?
hell yeah. Pizza man,
The
Chinese
pizza
man.
man?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't.
Yeah.
Can you think about it now? Like, imagine like some 14, 15-year-old coming up to you and saying like, yo, give me your shit. Like, you know what I mean? Let
Right.
me watch my curses. I don't want to get you demonetized either.
I
But
used to deliver pizzas, and I had to go to the hood, the one that I was in the hood working anyway, and I went to the hood, and what we used to do in Chicago, we would call and order a pizza like, yo, come deliver it to here, and you get to the building, and it was an abandoned building, we'd hit you right there, right out front, right,
yeah.
and I get there. And it's an abandoned apartment building, and I'm looking at it, and I said, "Man, I know there ain't somebody trying to rob me today, bro. Like you taking a page out of my own book, dog." I got out strapped, ready to roll, right? And the shorties come walking out the gangway. I said, "Man, it ain't gonna be that type of party, shorty." He's like, "Oh, bro, we didn't even know it was you, dog. Hey, tell somebody else to come back."
How
I
how
was
was
like,
it though? How was it for you though, where you knew your dad was, a street guy and he got locked up because he handled his business and stuff. But what void did that leave for you and maybe your mom or grandma or whoever raised you? What void was left from your father going to prison?
Well, I dealt with abuse from my stepfather, not like sexual abuse, but like back in like I don't know how it was for everybody, but growing up where I'm from, everybody got their ass kicked. That's just how it
"Oh
was.
hell yeah, that's
But
everywhere."
when it's not really your father and he don't love you, it's different when he kicks your ass. So
Yeah,
you feel more like, damn, like if my mother hits me, it's like whatever. But yeah, I dealt with a lot of that, and I think that's why I do Demons Road because I never had that guidance like don't do this, don't do that because you're gonna get caught up if you do that. I never had that. So I think that's kind of what inspires
right.
me about Demons Road.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was just everything was
That's really
either
cool, man.
I'm listen, I'll keep it so real. Like, a lot of people say, "Oh, I never lost a fight in my life." You just didn't fight that much. But like I grew up learning everything. Everything I did wrong was an ass
uh,
whooping or something went wrong, getting shot or shooting or something like that. Everything was learned the hard way. And that's why
yeah,
like I talk the way I do on Demons Row is because I'm trying to lay it out so people don't get, caught. And I'm not perfect. And there was something that y'all brought up about like it's in Chicago it's way different, you know what I mean, like that wouldn't certain things I've said on the show it wouldn't fly in Chicago. And I was even taking it to the extent like you could be in the same state, you know what I'm saying, like the way I moved in my club wouldn't be the same way another club in my state moved. There's different
right,
protocol for that club. So basically, I just like to say, like, I tell my story and what I've seen how to move, not like inside club stuff, but just overall moving when you're outside, around different clubs or whatever.
Hmm. You said
right.
your father's out now. Do you
Yeah,
have
he's
any
out.
contact with him?
He's in the Bronx still. I hardly talk to him because he's so burnt out, like he never even learned English, so he still speaks Spanish. And when I grew up, since I'm Puerto Rican, like my mother didn't really speak it to me like that, so my Spanish is bad. So like I had a girl translating for me and stuff like that. So we're not close. Like I'm not one of those people that like holds anything against him or my mother or anything like that. But we're just not really close. Like we're not in contact like that. My sister sees him, but I'm not one of those people that like thinks about the past all the time and wants to revive that.
Right, right. Now, even
Right.
though you had the kind of an abuse when you were a kid, do you feel like those ass kick-ins actually prepared you for the streets and made you more aware of your surroundings and stuff like that, and got you to where you wanted to be? Did it motivate you?
To be honest with you, I think it held me back because I feel like my stepfather taught me to be a victim, not to be an aggressor. So I got bullied so much that it didn't stop until I actually bought a gun and actually had to let it go. You know what I mean? Like it went on for so long. So it's like, and
Yeah.
that's kind of how it is when you don't have a father around, unless you got big brothers and stuff like that. I didn't have that, you know what I mean? So that's what led me into the gangs and stuff like that, was those type of circumstances. But all that bullying stuff stopped around like when I came home around 17. It stopped around that time. I remember a time where my stepfather actually smacked my sister, and I had just came home from Lincoln Hall. That's why I was locked up. That's division for youth, they call it in New York, is juvie. And
Okay.
when I came home, he smacked my sister. I put hands on him like something fierce, you know what I mean? So after that day, I was never, like I just came home different, you know what I mean? Being locked up as a kid conditioned me for the streets, because
Yep.
I went to Spofford. I don't know if you know what that is, but in New York, Spofford was the Rikers Island for when you're a kid, you know what I mean? So
Okay.
I've been to Rikers Island. I did all that. Like I've been up north, and that's why I say like my channel is more than just talking about 1% life or whatever, because I was a 99 for 6 years. I was in the clique for 6 years. I gangbanged for 12 years. So it's more like what I went through on the streets. So when I'm maneuvering, it's not just, going to a Mongoose party or whatever. It's like I've been the only Crip in a blood house up north. That type of, you know, how to move when you're
That
out
ain't no
somewhere,
fun.
because it's crazy. In New York, bloods run the jails. So where I
Okay.
was at in Gowanda, there was like 10 of us that was Crip. It was everybody else was blood. It was like 60 bloods in the whole jail. So it's like you got to be a certain kind of cloth. And I always found myself in those underdog kind of situations. So I think that's what prepared me. But I realized like like what Hollywood was saying is like all the messed up stuff that happens, it conditions you for your purpose. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Now, going type of life, was it because you were searching for something to be a part of, or was it something that you were looking for to make up for your father not being there, looking for a family?
So the way I got in is because my cousin came home. He came home from Green. He was locked up. He came home Crip. So since I had already had like different situations in the neighborhood where people know who I was, some Bloods had chased him out of the park. And this is when Bloods really started rising in New York. It was a certain time in the 90s. It was around that time when DMX was popular with Get At Me Dog and all that. It started to really
Yep.
rise in New York, and they were doing crazy shit. Like they would ask you what time it is, and then when you would look at your watch, they would cut an old lady, a little girl. They didn't care. They was on that. So my cousin got chased out the park by some Bloods, and I knew their big homie. So I told him, I pressed their big homie, and I told him, listen, this is my cousin. I don't care about the gang shit. This is my cousin. This is family. So when you see him, stay away from him. So he respected it, and none of the Crips had my cousin's back. And people are asking, it was Grave Street. Um, None of the people had my cousin's back that were Crip. He came home from jail with that, and there was nobody else in the set. So instead of like when it first happened, I told them, I was like, why are you down with this? And you got beef with people in your neighborhood, but you don't even have a set. None of them are out here. I was stupid and I did the family thing. Oh, he's my family. He's knuckleheaded. Let me get down with him. I should have steered him out of it. But instead, I was like, he's not going to change. And I started having other situations where I started putting hands on certain Bloods in the neighborhood. So it's like, I'm already labeled as Crip, and that's my cousin. So I'm not going to let
Right.
that happen to him. So it snowballed. And then before you know it, it was like a long time that I was in it.
Right.
So you
Now,
so you figured kind of like I did back in the day with the club stuff, is you got involved to protect him because you knew you weren't going to stray him away, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I feel you.
do you feel like we're going to get to the clubs in a minute, but with the gangs, they got a lot more different than even when we went through it. Mine, I was real early 80s. It was a lot different compared to your generation in the 90s where it got a little tougher. But now you have stuff out there like in Chicago, you can't even walk on the west or south side. It's Chirac out there.
Yeah.
Everybody's shooting at each other.
Mhm.
But on your side of you got MS-13, which is way wicked out there in the head. We hear about that all in the news. Is that something that is actually happening, or is it news hype?
I think overall crime is just up because of everything that's just going on in New York. Is just it's New York is just a messed up place. It's hard to get work. There's so many jobs out there, but it's hard to get work. People get felonies so young that you just can't get work out there. There's so many people
No.
trying to push for the same jobs that everybody's trying to hustle or do something sneaky to get money. It's just, and everything is so expensive. You know what I mean? The
Mhm.
worst,
No.
the worst one bedroom in the worst area is probably like $1,000. In a bad area. So it's just everything is just so expensive.
No.
Oh yeah, expensive, especially when you talk about housing and stuff like that out by you guys. Damn,
Yeah,
it's
No.
yeah,
crazy.
it's crazy. It's crazy.
So, your experiences as a banger led you into looking in, and do you believe it's a step up, or it's not even on the same plane when you get into a motorcycle club? Because I always argue MCs ain't gangs, and regardless of what the news says, it's only a few individuals that do stuff. But we have to face the fact that a lot of people that were bangers get into the club, but I think their whole ideology and their thinking changes. Do you feel like it was a step up, or it's just something you wanted to get a part of, get a regular family, where they help you out, and did it change your mind thing?
I think that it's hard to say because I'm not big on rules. I've always had a problem with rules. But I definitely think that when you're young, I know some people might not like this, but I think the gang shit is the young boy shit. When you get older, you ride and stuff like that. I think the club shit is more some grown man shit. You know what I mean? In my opinion, I
Yep.
think it is. But honestly,
Mhm.
like I always say this, I stopped getting locked up when I got in the clubs. When I was banging, it was in and out. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
Mhm.
I think the clubs is a way better option for some young kids to get into.
Mhm.
I
Where do you
agree.
where do you think clubs are missing? Because now we got an average age of maybe 36 to 40, when in the earlier times when I came in, it was maybe 25 and up. But the younger kids just ain't getting involved, and that's motorcycling in general, with getting bikes and stuff. What do you think's going on where younger kids don't want to be involved in any type of organization? Don't have to be a club, it could be like the Moose, Masons, any of that.
I think a lot of the young boys is like basically what they tell me is like they're not feeling all the rules and stuff. Like clubs got too many rules and they used to just doing what they want to do. I think that's a big part of it.
Do you think that's from a lack of discipline?
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. MCs came from a lot of military people too. And
Mhm.
like where I grew up, there wasn't too many people going
Mhm.
to the military. So I think that's part of it too.
Right, right.
So
You
like
know what?
you said, they don't have
You're
the
on
structure.
you're on the same level as I am politically, we know.
Yeah,
But there was always one thing that I always thought would better, our country as far as the kids are concerned, because other ones do it. But maybe if you're not going to go to college, you do 2 years in the service.
I agree. I agree.
Yep.
That's one regret that I have in my life. Shout to Six Skulls MC Jimbo too, because we just did an interview. Um, that's one regret of mine is that I couldn't serve. I got my felony at 19. I had a Navy recruiter. I went through everything. He was ready. He came with me to court. He told the judge, just don't give him a felony. I'll take him right now with me. He did everything he has to do, passed everything. and the judge would not do it. He just gave me the felony, and for some reason at that time they weren't letting people in with a felony.
Right.
And that's a big regret.
That's similar to what happened to me, man. Like literally the day I was gonna join, I decided to wait until the end of the weekend. I was gonna go in Monday, and Friday night I caught my first felony, and that's what like directed my life from there on.
Yeah.
It's one of my biggest
Well, we
regrets too.
got Carlos here, my crime partner. How you doing, Carlos? Yeah, we can't hear you, so we'll keep on going on. Audio problems.
There you go. You hear me now?
Now we can hear you. Now we
damn
can
it,
hear
audio.
you.
Unfortunately, yeah, we hear you.
We're talking
I'm
about.
making us see anything now.
We're talking with Sose about his experiences, how early in life led him to the point where he is today. And like I said earlier, a lot of people that go through his situation, they don't have the drive to go where he's at now. Instead, they fall back onto the streets. And that's what a lot of people don't find hope or don't set goals like he did. And now he is starting to build a media type of empire, if you will. What's your Carlos?
Well, I mean, that just shows an example that it's not just the regular what people will say. Because when you leave the streets, people think people will fall right back into the streets. And I know a lot of guys that were in prison before the MC got into MC, but that's not that might have changed his derailment a little bit. But him himself had the motivation itself to do what he did. So many people will try to get on YouTube. People love to, like, they quit their jobs, do things to do something love, but you have to learn the things you hate first to do what you love. And what he probably did, because I mean, if he does, do you do your own editing, all that shit?
Yeah.
I mean, I always told people, I go, man, he does his thing no matter what. I mean, he puts awesome thumbnails, awesome editing. He has a great entertainment program itself for viewers and for people to actually see, but he stepped it up. I mean, you have a lot of YouTubers that complain themselves and don't know where their numbers are. You put in the work. The result is the work that you put in.
Mm-hmm.
And it just shows an example that you can use your mind no matter where you come from, where you've been, and utilize any weaknesses or strength to come out ahead to help yourself in the future. Either you fall back or you don't. I mean, there's no one else who's going to help you out in this life than yourself. You can put the tools in front of you, but if you're not going to do anything, I mean, there's plenty of people, they have the opportunity. You give them $1 million, they'll blow it quick. But you give the right person $1 million, they'll triple that. So, I mean, that just shows a testament to him itself. And it shows that, hey, just because you come from the street, wherever you come, you're not an idiot. I mean, you don't have to have a degree to be smart. I mean, there's plenty of book smart people that can't do shit with no common sense.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's one of the main things.
Where did your drive come from, Sos? Where did your drive to say, you know what? I'm going to make this. I'm going to be something. I'm going to make Demons Row worldwide known. Where did that come from? Did it come from the heart where a lot of successful people go to make it happen, their drive, and just saying, hey, wait a second, you know, I'm not going to let this keep me down or that keep me down. I'm going to make my own future.
So this is a good way to answer the question about the holy grail of MC culture too, like why I call it that, because I know some people think, like, that don't know me, they think holy grail of MC culture, he thinks he's better than everybody, stuff like that. And when I say the holy grail, it's like I bring up these topics and then we all get together and talk about it. And there's stuff that I've learned, you know what I mean, from everybody, you know, and we all come to this conclusion. Like, I know stuff now that I didn't know a couple years ago. You know, you could learn from anybody. So I say that to say that, like, I've always been into like Templars and like the Roman Empire, and it's, for me, it's always been about legacy. Like, where do I see myself when it's all said and done? Where do I want to sit? And I want to sit in a legendary space. And I've always thought that since a kid. Like, it's about, like, when we grew up, it was about getting your name up. That was always, you know, like in the gangs, it was like, you know, I hate to refer back to it because I know a lot of people don't like it, but it was like, you put in work so that people know who you are. Your name rings bells. And that's how we grew up in New York. It was all about making your name known, So I don't know. I just always had that thing about wanting to have a legacy that I leave. And when I'm gone, I have this legacy, I don't know why, but I've always had it.
Now, do you have children? Because I felt personally, if I'm going to achieve, I want to do it. It's more for them than it was for me. And they are such an inspiration to make you want to do better.
To be honest with you, like my legacy is a selfish thing, and I'm a very honest person, a transparent person. I want to leave my stamp here and then leave the kids with the business. You know what I mean? Like, but I want them to be whatever they believe they can be. I want to show them that it's not about school or whatever. Like, I feel like what you guys do, what I do, is the true path because we do what we love at the end of the day. So you're a success if you do that, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like, if you can make a living off of it, you're a success. So it's just like, how far do you want to take it? In my opinion, Yeah.
Well, right. That's something that
I agree.
That's something that Robert Kiyosaki used to say. There's those that were bred to work, and then there's those that were bred to take on the world on their own and be entrepreneurs and make their path the way they wanted to make that path. And you're doing that right now. You're on all media platforms. You got a podcast coming up. You just got so much on your plate where you're saying, okay, I'll use time management and we're going to go here, we're going to go there, and I'm going to make my dent there. And that's what I respect right there.
Yeah. I appreciate you, man. I feel like you're doing the same thing. You've been rocking with the podcast. You're more heavy on that side. I feel like you're doing the same thing, and our stuff out, like I said, it was always like a competition, you know what I mean? But it was never malicious. And like, I'll say it in front of everybody. Like, when I was on the come up, the only one who gave me a look was Hollywood. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm here right now. Like, I don't forget when people do stuff for me. You know what I mean?
That's why I'm here too.
Well, you gotta remember though, competition. Nothing's wrong with competition. I mean, you need competition. That's how people step up their game.
Yeah.
I mean, if it wasn't for Hollywood, probably you wouldn't step as much. And if it wasn't for your step up, other people probably wouldn't want to step up either.
Yeah.
I mean, no one can talk. I mean, it's serious. I mean, you can say holy grail, of course. I can be personally like, what the fuck? I don't want to curse, but what does he mean? But then, of course, when you explain things overall, when you actually just take a step back and just forget about the bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody does their thing. Whatever you need to succeed to a point, you're gonna do.
One thing I want to say too, on the Holy Grail thing is like, I'm big into marketing. So like, I wanted to market the Templars since I'm a big fan of the Templars. I wanted to market that. So it's more of a marketing strategy than an actual, I think I'm better than everybody type of deal. And I think this is a good platform to say it because people might not perceive it that way. They might perceive it in a different way, like you're saying, and that's not what it means,
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing that I was just finish up here. Like me personally, that's the way I took it originally. Of course, when you say that, but I kind of figured myself. I'm a business guy outside of YouTube, and marketing and branding is the number one thing. If you can market and brand it with a catchphrase that someone is always going to say, I mean, that's coin in itself. So
it's right. It's like no. I don't want to cut you off.
No, go ahead. So,
like I grew up on Wu-Tang. Reza is one of my, OGs. Reza, everything about the Wu-Tang was like karate this, karate that. So I chose my lane to be like Templars, bike stuff. So that was the influence, He's not saying that I'm a black belt and I'm better than everybody and I'll kick every other, rapper's ass or whatever. It was a marketing strategy. So I want people to understand that when they hit a Holy Grail, it's about marketing, not about like just thinking you're better than everybody or whatever. That's not what it's about.
Well, that's the thing. Right. It is about marketing, and everybody. Well, with Danny, he asked me about his store. I was like, man, we have a thing where you got to say it over and over and over again to get it into people's heads for the radio advertising and stuff like that. And that's all. That's what you're doing is marketing, because this is a business. And when Twitch went after you, that right there broke me. I was like, dude, you know what? Now you're just not disagreeing. You're not, trying to make a point. Now you're going after the guy's business. And that set me off. I was like, oh, hell no, man. This guy's put in a lot of work. And, it's entertainment when we go back and forth. To me, it is anyway. I like joking around. But when you go after somebody in a vindictive manner, that I just can't take. I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he came in a disrespectful way. Like, if you're gonna come like that, don't do it on the internet. Do it when you see me in person. You know what I mean? Like, why would you go on the internet? Like, anytime you guys ever like disagreed on anything, it was like you were laying down facts that you believe that you didn't like something I did or whatever. I don't care about shit like that. It's competition. But once you're like, you're a punk, you're this, you're that, it's like, come on, bro. Why are you saying on the internet? Like, who does that?
Right.
Tell me when you see me in person. It's a small world. Tell me when you see me in person. That's it. That's how I feel about that.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm gonna fold him when I see him in person, though. That's a fact.
Rock on.
I mean, the guys that know me, even Dan, I tell Danny all the time. I mean, if I ever have an issue, I would have called you straight up if I had a real issue with you. Before I post anything on the internet, before that, I would talk you straight up and say, "Hey, I don't," and I'll just either talk trash or what to a certain way. But I'd rather do that to someone directly than rather go on the computer and just post something kind of off the hip.
Yeah, and you got to think about it. While like I never met nobody in person, so everybody that's saying whatever about me, they never met me in their life, So this dude to jump on the internet, be like, "You're a punk, you're this, you're that," like you don't even know me. You never met me in your life. I didn't even know who he was. So it's like, it was just weird. It's just weird shit.
Well, I don't think any of us really knew who he was until he popped up out of nowhere.
I didn't know.
Well, I do know he's not on the internet anymore, but he hasn't posted anyway.
Well, I mean, that's the biggest thing, though. I always said I would rather have all this in person, right? I'd rather get in front of everybody with everybody live and do it in person if I had the chance. That would be my number one.
No, I agree.
Where
we gotta go to a Cubs game, Hollywood? I gotta come out there. We gotta go to the Cubs.
Hey, Sose, man, you can't say the Cubs or anything with my old lady. She's a diehard Cubs fan, and she. Oh my God!
Wow.
I took her to a first Cubs game this past summer. But you can't play with her, man. She no joke. Danny knows.
Well, we're all jumping in the plane with Carlos, and
goddamn right.
Going to a Cubs game.
Doing Demon's Row, you were just starting out. What did you think you needed to do to grow to where you are now? Was it the marketing? Was it the editing? Because your editing's kicking.
Thank you. I started with hip hop videos. That's why I'm good at editing. Like I used to shoot. I know you guys probably don't know, but like French Montana, he's a pretty known artist. I used to shoot for his team, the Coke Boys. And
I know who that is.
Yeah, I know you knew. But I used to shoot for the Coke Boys. So I actually had experience shooting videos and editing and stuff like that. So when I stepped in, I knew a little something. I never went to school or anything, but honestly, Hollywood, I just watch tutorials, bro. I just keep educating myself. That's all I do. I think that's the key is just keep learning, I research everything. YouTube is a beautiful thing. Same way everybody come on here and try to learn something from us. You can learn stuff about everything, editing, lighting, cameras, That's how I learned it all,
Well, it's like Elon Musk said. I mean, you can learn anything education online. You can, if you want to learn history, learn it online. If you want to learn how to do math, you can do anything online. You don't like degrees technically is semantics.
Yeah.
You can learn more on the computer.
Right. Well, you guys were talking about that music. I'm sitting here thinking, man, I only know David Allen Coe and all the old guys.
Whatever. Now I was gonna just crack on the Puerto Ricans that don't speak Spanish, man. But New Yorkers are like that, though.
Yeah.
My boy Cowboy, he was with a big club out in the Bronx and stuff, and then but he speaks a little Spanish, but.
Let me tell you something. Wow, I hated it because when I was locked up, since I was Crip, I couldn't. The Puerto Ricans were scared to chill with me. I used to chill with the Jamaicans because the Jamaicans were Crip, so I had to sit there and listen to them speak in their language The whole time, I don't understand nothing they're saying. So I started chilling with the Dominicans because the Dominicans wasn't scared of the Bloods, and they were speaking straight up Spanish. So I'm just there, like, you know what I mean? Like, I was just crazy.
The worst part is that if we all go out somewhere together, they'll be speaking Spanish to you guys there, Danny, and you. Then I'm like the whitest looking person here with Hollywood, and
you're the one that knows Spanish.
And that's my first language is Spanish.
How has this changed you, man? How has it changed you as a person? You know, everybody knows if you're to make it, you got to have the thick skin. But how have you dealt with the success?
That's a great question, man. I don't know. I just keep working, you know, and just keep trying to grow. That's basically it, you know, like I just try to get better and learn more and just like, what am I doing wrong? And then I just really try to listen to the audience, like, what do they want? And it sucks, man, because I'll be 100% honest with you. What they want is what Hollywood's giving them. They want to hear Hell's Angels, Mongols, Vagos. You know what I mean? They want to hear the juicy shit, you know? So I try to be creative as possible without doing it. It's rough, man. It's rough. It's a small niche that we're in. So it's like, it's hard. And you Hollywood, you know what they want because you give it to them all day. So yeah.
You know what? That's a sad part of society in whole. Is they rather hear about somebody killing this one or killing that one instead of sitting back and say, okay, you know, what Sose is doing or what Danny's doing, you know, this is good for the community. You know, it's funny. I get to look at the analytics all you guys do because when I retooled the show, I was like, okay, let's put some good that does. But all you see is the clicks forward in the chapters to where all the bad's at.
Yeah.
Well, guaranteed. If you look at my
society as a whole.
When I started a year ago, my first videos were popping up. I never put club names in any of my videos. Not one club name. Not one person has I ever named. So I don't get the views like I could if I just put like literally, you know, like Hell's Angels, you know, anything big with a, you know, cuts on there. So I just don't. And it's something like I said, I have a different view on it in general. So that you can see the reflection.
Yeah. Have y'all ever noticed? I never mentioned the club name.
Yeah, I
right.
respect that.
Well, that's
you know what? Only one time I mentioned the club name.
I think it's hard because, to be honest with you, like me and Hollywood get hit up directly by clubs. Like, yo, listen, can you talk about this? So sometimes it's like it's big homies that's hitting us. I got to say the right way, presidents and stuff like that, because I still have my wrong terminology or whatever. But it's like it's certain presidents and high-ranking members that are like, yo, this just got spun in the media and they're not giving it the right justice. Can you say something about this? So me and Hollywood deal with that a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah, but it's only so much you can talk to about also online, and the creative part gets really, that's when it gets tough. You know, you have to get really creative what you want to talk about. Now
you're on the East Coast and I watched as you went to the West Coast. What's the scene difference between, and I know the Midwest is like in Yahoo land, but you know, me and Danny talk about it all the time. It's like, damn, we go to a bike night and it's all hairy, old ass people. But you go out to the West Coast, you got some babes.
Yeah, then you go on the West Coast, man. They got bad females, badass bikes, good music, everybody having a good time. Yeah, out here, it's like a bike night out here. It's a bunch of support clubs, a couple of dominant dudes, and a bunch of ugly ass women with ugly ass bikes just hanging out at a bar. That's what a bike night is.
Yeah,
it's sad.
I love California. I'll be honest with you. Like, the women are all beautiful. There's so many clubs. It feels like there's like a million clubs out there, but they all respect the big bros out there. Like, they don't play with them. But it's just, I don't know, man. I feel like where we're from, I feel like the nicest bike is like regular compared to California. Like, they do the most. Like, their bikes are amazing. It's art.
Like their cars.
You know, like the low riders and all that. It's just, I don't know, man. I love it out there. It's just so expensive. I was gonna move out there, but it's just so expensive, you know.
Did you ever think about Vegas?
Yeah, it's super expensive to live out there.
I was thinking about that. It's funny that you brought that up. Yeah, I was thinking about that today. What do you think about? What do you think about
there?
My vote's always Miami, just to throw it in there. Just to throw.
You know what it is about Florida? Florida is too muggy. I would be upset all the time out there.
Yeah.
I can't
Not me,
be
man.
hot
There's a
like
bunch
that.
of titties all around with no shirts on, and all the Hispanic women.
It's so humid though, man.
No.
How was
Maybe
your
The women are bad in Florida though. They're definitely bad in Florida.
How was your reception out on the West Coast?
more love than on the East Coast. More love. It's
Really?
insane. Yeah,
I think that makes
couldn't
sense.
even. I didn't even like Mike. You know what it is like Mike. The people that without saying too much, the people that he knows are so high up that like when we're moving around, it's just so much love. Like everywhere we went, it was amazing. Like I couldn't even believe it. Like I didn't realize the reach of the show and stuff like that. It's just more, I guess, because the scene is just so much bigger. Like where we live, it gets cold, so less people really ride like that.
Do you think
Right.
sometimes like you're only it's like people that you're closest with are the ones that actually want to see you fail? You know how that there's a weird saying like that. So like kind of the East Coast.
Yeah.
Just like when you work somewhere, if you ever work somewhere, let's say you all your life you grew up somewhere, you're a little kid that was working hard in a little grocery store, then you became the manager. But everybody that works there always sees you as that little kid that worked there. They don't really see you moving up in that area until you go somewhere new that no one sees you.
Yeah.
So it's kind of similar.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like in New York it's a lot of love, but New York is very antisocial. So they're not gonna show you the maximum love. California is just so much more. I don't know like how to explain it. It's just they don't mind showing you love. New York, everybody's too cool to really like, like, oh yeah, I rock with your show, much love. But in Cali, they'll tell you like, yo, we love you out here. Like it's just different,
Yeah, in New York, man, you pass them wrong, they give you the finger, man.
Yeah. Yo, let me tell you something, Hollywood. Like, I would know, I always tell people this, like where I grew up on Decatur, I would know people's first and last names, and we would walk right by each other, not say shit to each other for our whole lives. Like, that's how New York is. Like, you can know, I would know, like, I'll walk by this certain girl, I know her brother, father's name, everybody. And I would never say nothing to her. She would never say nothing to me. We just walk by each other. It was the Twilight Zone.
I was gonna say, if you can do anything all over again, looking back through your journey, like from YouTube itself, what would it be? And do you have any regrets or some redos, if you would?
If as far as just YouTube or in life?
Yeah, just YouTube creator, not life in general. Because usually I can't really actually what you went through in life was what got you today. So there shouldn't be regret to that. Because no matter what, we don't have a crystal ball, so there's no way to see how, even if you changed what you did, wrong, but whatever you did brought you to where you are today. But from YouTube, I meant.
I feel like your mistakes are what makes you. So I'm starting to learn that like you learn more through your L's. So when bad things happen, it's to prepare you for the next level. So I wouldn't really change anything, because if I do, then maybe I wouldn't be on my path, if that makes any sense to you. Yeah. As far as like, let me think, on YouTube. One thing I would have did, as far as like all the stuff that was going on between me and Hollywood, I would have just called. If I could rewind time, I would have just hit up Hollywood like, yo, listen, bro, you had my back when I was on the come up. This is little, YouTube shit or whatever. And I think we just let it fester a little bit too much, and then it became a whole mob of people that like, were against me or whatever. But that's one thing I would change, because me and Hollywood always was, every time we ever talked, it was like we were good, and he showed love. So I think that's one thing that I would have did as far as the YouTube or whatever.
Yeah. Sometimes that's the quickest way to get over something, is actually just hit it straight on.
Yeah, just people talking, and he takes that experience of that issues with us. It's on a minor deal with YouTube, but now that the name of the show is Peace on the Streets, Time to Unite, which is a big one, that kind of stuff that we were going through can start wars at that point on the streets and on in clubs. But before we get to that subject, you got to interview somebody that is actually in my mind all the time. I believe he got a raw setup. We talk a lot, and that's Freddie. What do you think of that
Oh yeah.
case?
I believe Freddie. Like I talk to Freddie, Free Freddie Aguero. I speak to him all the time, and he's just solid. Like if he did it, he's already doing 25 to life plus 30. If he really did it, he would just be like, I did it. You know what I mean? He really didn't do it. They set him up because he's a pagan. It looks good, and he was actually not even in the club at the time when it happened. He was retired. They just
Yes.
dragged the club into it, and they always do that. I think that the dude killed his wife because she was gonna take him for all his money, and they put it was a sexy headline, in my opinion.
No, I believe that 100%. 100%.
Because they
Freddie's
got him
just
6
too
years
much of a
later.
hippie for me to do something like that.
Yeah, they got him 6 years later with no real evidence. People just ratting on him.
Right. Right. So
Yeah.
I want you guys to remember out there, Freddie, man. Freddie needs his case, going through all the appeals and stuff like that. They did doctor's orders on Discovery Plus, and I think that's important for them to be able to get their side of the story out, but I don't believe it. Freddie's too much of a hippie, down to earth guy. And you usually can tell just by looking at somebody if they were involved in something like that. I think it was a setup. But leading to that, talking about setups, we cover it all the time on Biker News, how the media throws one type of, propaganda out, and it's usually a police propaganda. Because let's admit it, the media, they makes tons of monies off of bikers, man.
Yeah.
That's where you had the SOA, the Mayans, all that type of stuff, because bikers will make you a lot of money. And I think that clubs are always put in that regard, so the money's put out there. What do you got a movement going on. You got your patch on your hat right now. Tell us about the patch and where you want to go with this.
I just want it to be the type of thing where it's like, if you see it, you will understand that, like, they want the same thing. Like right now we're in a situation where they actually told us you have to stay home and you can't come outside. People lost their businesses. Like, if we can't be on the same page, like I want to live in a world where like truckers, bikers are like in connection with each other, and there's like some type of network. Everybody doesn't have to hold hands and be best friends, but at the end of the day, if they say there's something new that came along, I want to do it without getting you shut off, because certain things that I say gets me demonetized, and I don't want to get your video demonetized. But if they turn around and say, you know what, a lot of people are catching the sniffles, let's just say it like that, everybody has to stay home. Do you know how many people are going to lose their businesses? So at least if we're in tune with each other, we could say, nah, we're not doing it. We could turn it into jaywalking. That's basically my goal. Is a larger goal. It's a country goal, not a. I realize that clubs are not gonna squash a lot of beefs. Like I got big brothers that are like, it'll never happen, and I'm to the point where it's like, if there's I don't know how many Hollywood, how many clubs do you like numbers wise? How many you think independents there are? How many club members?
Oh, you're looking
in the
at
United States.
It's actually independents just roll over, the clubs. I think the clubs are maybe 2 to 3% of the biker population. And that has to do with a lot of stuff us dumb old people did in the day, where you guys are more like, okay, man, you know what? Enough's enough. We don't even know why this started. Like a lot of these people don't know how the big one started. It was all over women. But yeah, independents, they outrank everything. They're the biggest.
Yeah. So what if like 92% of the people all were like at least in tune to the point where if they're like, like something happens, and let's talk about, I'm trying to say it in a way where you don't get demonetized. Because they
have they been hitting you on your
lately.
Antifa stuff yet?
Yeah, like
they hit me all the time.
I'm gonna say it on a small level. I want to live in a world where Hollywood is like, I got me and D-Lo got an event in Chicago, and we're like, we put the blast out and everybody goes over there, and then the money goes to Hollywood, or something happens to a kid and the whole community comes together and helps that kid, or whatever, stuff like that, and on a larger level too. But just that type of situation where you don't even have to be in a club, or you could be in a club and be down with it, because I have brothers that are in clubs that are down with it, but it's just like, it's only but for so
kind of
long.
like being a Mason, right?
Kind of,
But in that realm.
But it's how long are we gonna do the same thing? And I feel like, to be honest, like I feel like the way the format is going, we're going into a new era. You know what I mean? These younger kids don't care about what was going on 50, 60 years ago. So we're going into a new era. Things change. You know what I mean? So I feel like we're at that point where maybe we could usher in something that we have control over, that's something positive, and push people in that direction that may want to get in the club but don't want to deal with the politics,
Right.
I think that there's another way to do it. And if you think out the box, we could do that without all the rules and the mandatory this, and you got to go to this state, when you got to work, and that type of stuff. Without any of that, I think it would be. And you look at the independents, they ride more than the clubs half the time. You know what I mean?
They
Like,
do ride half the time more.
Well, to be real,
they do.
There was 2 times in recent years where all the clubs actually got together, and it was a sight to see. And the anniversary's coming up in May for Twin Peaks Waco. Popeye and OG from Texas Biker Radio, they really led a movement where all bikers, clubs, confederations got together, got rid of that damn prosecutor who overstepped his reach. And the other incident was the New Hampshire 7, with the jarheads when they lost their people. So it is possible, it really is possible to happen.
Yeah,
that's why I talk about peace on the streets, because like Sose said, and I've been saying it all along, clubs are not going to hold hands and sing kumbaya. All the beefs, and some of the guys still hold on to that crap, and I get it, I respect it.
Freddie's
But there's no
I don't know how he did it, but Freddie's on a live right now. Not to cut you.
Is he?
Freddie's
Free
on the
Freddie,
live.
baby.
Freddie.
He said
Free
thanks
Freddie
to Hollywood for putting the truth out there. Hopefully get a good civil attorney and start its cut off. People like the doctors, orders, producers, and BS presented as truth. Yeah, he has a channel that he used to do his music on, and somehow I don't know how they do it, but I've been talking to him through the JPay and stuff like that. So I think he has somebody that like has it playing for him, and then he'll say, "Yo, tell Hollywood and Sose this," or whatever,
Right. I really believe in his cause. I really do. And it's something like he's going through right now, or some of these other trials that are happening as far as Rico that's going on right now, that people do need to unite. And we learned that from the Vagos.
Well, my camera.
Oh, I'll put him out here a sec.
Yeah.
We learned that from the Vagos in Las Vegas when they stuck together and they beat the government with this RICO stuff. Now, RICO wasn't originally intended for organized crime like the outfit, the syndicate, or the mafia, for you guys. I keep on giving Chicago terms, but it was used for that. But then bikers, they seen were like, okay, they're a strong group. There are a lot of veterans in there. We don't like it. We get nervous about it. So let's go after them for every little thing. And when you see these RICO cases, it's like, okay, we're not going to put on tinfoil hats. Yeah, nobody's Boy Scouts. But 5 people, you're going to say represents a whole motorcycle club where they're working 9 to 5 or working 13, 14 hours a day. The whole club ain't a gang.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wish, and Sosa know what I'm talking about because he's from New York, I really wish that clubs, the bigger ones, would form a commission-like type of deal, because there is motivation to stick together, just like they did in Twin Peaks and New Hampshire to get it together.
Yeah. I think like most of the sets are like split into two. So I think it's possible that if in the future, like when major stuff goes on, because y'all know, like I'll be on the politic tip too, and there's a lot going on in the country right now, that people don't know.
Right.
So it's like I want to talk about deeper stuff. That's the only thing I hate about YouTube, Hollywood. It's like you can't really say certain things, yo. I hate it, man. But
Right.
a lot of people I see a lot of people saying that they're glad that us three like linked up. It feels right too, like our vibe.
Yeah,
It
it
makes
does.
sense. You know what I mean? It definitely does make sense.
Well, you need to
It
get
definitely
your
does.
BitChute and your Odyssey. That's where I talk a lot of, or Rumble. Rumble's real good for that too.
Yeah.
But that's why I started that online radio station, is because I got sick of not being able to say what I wanted to say on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. I get taken down all the time, and I don't even know what I'm doing wrong.
Yes.
Man, don't even get me started on TikTok, bro. I'm on my third page. I should have like 3 million freaking followers on there by now, man. But I got 18.
Instagram
Like, come
is
on, man.
worse, man. I'm getting taken down on Instagram all the time, and I didn't even know what I did.
I'm not
But
on Instagram
to
much.
show
I don't really post much.
that we do got to unite, because it's dangerous. And the club stuff aside, man, the biker stuff aside, it's dangerous as American citizens when you have that type of censorship going on.
Hey, could you hear me now? There you go. Sorry about that. That's what happens when you have
we
a dog.
can see you too. We're not looking at your ceiling.
My damn dog got in here and just ripped a hole through the cords, and blame the dog.
He want to speak his piece.
He want to speak his piece.
Right.
He smells Danny D-Lo's toes. He's like, man, I got to get on this. I just want to say about unity itself. A lot of times that we have to remember that it's going to be impossible to. We have to know. I made a video the other day that a divided culture needs a united church, and a divided nation needs a united people. Just to know that you can't win them all. We're not going to win everybody, and then you got to start with the core. If you start with the core, not the crowd, you're going to be well off, way better off. And you got to do the math, like we're doing the math about percentages of what's the percentage that are in clubs, not in clubs. What's the percentages of people that are actually the disconnect with the new generation with the old generation? And then you got to focus on what you agree on, not what you disagree. You can't explain why twice as much as you can explain what the what and the how. So, the solutions are better than giving, like when you hear people always talking about, we're going to be running circles. That's what we've been doing. Right. Yeah. And then the way society is now, if there's not a tragedy, just like if there's a hurricane that just destroys like Houston, like or Louisiana, everybody got together there. People that hated each other helped each other.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that it doesn't get to a point that it gets so bad that we're going to have to do something similar. So that's why, as long as you start with the core, and that's what right now, what you guys are doing is kind of starting more with the core and working out compared to trying to wrangle everybody through.
Yeah. More of an idea, but I really do believe that things change. I know a lot of people always think that, like, realistically, like, I think the Romans thought the same thing. Like, they would be on top forever. Nothing lasts forever. And people got to realize that, times change. So I know we're very entrenched into the biker world, but I feel like I've lived outside of that and inside of it, and I see that you can always evolve and do something different.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll be taking questions later on, everybody, but I wanted to continue on this conversation of you're doing a lot more intense type of subjects on your channel. And one thing that does get me is when we do talk about them type of subjects that are intense, what's going on in this country, for one, because it's very important to talk about. You get people that comes back and says, well, I thought you guys were a biker channel. Well, wait a second.
Why are they trying to put us in a box though, Hollywood? That's putting us in a box. Like, you're a dumb biker and that's all you could talk about. Like, don't put me in that box. You know what I mean? That's how I feel,
Right.
Yeah.
Why do you
That's why I try to talk about a little something different.
Why do you think that is, Carlos? Where we're American citizens. We need to work together. We're a big voting bloc, man, the bikers. We've seen that in Texas.
Well,
we need to know the issues, but they'd rather see me talking about, okay, this guy killed this guy or this guy, instead of saying, well, wait a second, like Sose said earlier, we were locked down and people lost their damn businesses. A lot of bikers lost their own businesses too.
Yeah.
Well, a
They
lot
want
of
to
times
hear about that stuff.
you get from old movies that people watched, or the old tales of back in the day. The clubs had a lot of people didn't have jobs. A lot of MCs in the beginning didn't have jobs. They came out of the war, didn't have jobs. They looked for guys that they kind of couldn't feel together with, and they kind of helped each other out. But now it's different. There's lawyers, doctors, there's truckers, there's pipe layers, there's everything right now in the MC community. And people are pilots. People are, like I said, there's everything there. But people like living on the old stigma. Just like if you see a biker wearing either baggy pants or tight pants, and someone will say, "Oh, you're not a real biker. You look too ghetto." Or you're not a real biker. You look like, I don't know, from Austin, Texas. But I think it's just more what people. That's why they like the TV stuff. If anything bad that you put, the titles, they'll like it. They're gonna watch it because that's what they like. That's what they grew up on the movies and shows. But in reality, though, a lot of people, a lot of communities, bikers itself run the communities. There's here in Texas, there's actually I think a mayor of a town that is a biker in an MC.
That's why, I don't know if you noticed, but whenever I touch on something in the news, I try to expose how let's say whatever topic, the pagans, whatever. I try to talk about the fact that it'll be one pagan that got caught up. He was doing something, hustling, whatever he's doing, and they make it seem like it's a club, conspiracy. They're a criminal enterprise. That's not the way it works. I really you guys know, you'll have a brother that hustles or whatever, but it's not a criminal organization where it's like Sons of Anarchy. You sit at the table and they're like, let's hit this truck and stuff like that. Now, I'm not saying that stuff like that doesn't happen,
Right.
But overall, the consensus of clubs, it's not the way it is,
Well, that's kind of, you brought up a damn good point right there. A freaking damn good point. During Freddie's trial, it wasn't about Freddie. It was all about some incidences. They put the club on trial to convict him. And that's something we need to be very wary. They've been doing it all over the East Coast because I've been covering it to the pagans. But that's the thing that they do. They use the trial at hand to go after the club. And one of the things I always said, and the old guys that I learned under as a kid, my great uncle, he's anyway, they use that summation, which means when you plead guilty, you got to say, yeah, I did this, I'm part of this and this and this. The summation is the most damaging part of a trial, because now you're saying, okay, the club's a criminal gang when they're not. And
the thing with Freddie too is that they had a whole TV special out painting him as a monster before he sat in front of the jury.
Exactly.
Any good lawyer would get that thrown out. You know what I mean? Because of that in itself.
Exactly. And that's one thing that in biker news, and like you said, we talk to clubs behind the scene and stuff, but there's a lot of stuff they can't say. But the reason why I'd like to have, kind of like what happened with that schmuck, that meatball, Twitch, the club came out and gave a statement to put that to rest. They got their side of the story out. But when the media is going like that stuff in Fayetteville right now, and there ain't no pushback on it, now they're looking to influence jurors. And I think that's, something clubs have to get ahead of, especially after they see what happened to Freddie or what they did to Vagos on in Vegas. And now that they're running Angel in Fresno with that RICO trial, you got to get ahead of it, because the jurors, they're trying to influence them.
Yeah. You're really good at getting those interviews too, getting people to speak out. It's hard. There's so many. I know all of y'all go through it. People send you stuff and you want to touch on certain stuff, but I think you've done a good job. One thing I give you respect to, it's a tough position to be in, but a lot of exposing of rats and cops, and you've really put light to a lot. Because to be honest, in a lot of these clubs, they're infiltrated right now as we speak. I was thinking about that dude. I always think about what that dude Finger said on that thing. He said in every major club that had any type of media attention, there are plants in the club. And I've noticed,
guaranteed.
I think that those are the people that keep wars going. They get
Mhm.
deep into it and they rise high,
Yeah.
because who could go harder than a police officer that it's his job to be a club member, while the club members are
Mhm.
working, doing whatever he's going even harder, you know?
You can
So,
hit the
and
Right.
they're
rattlesnake like
entrapping
that.
people and
And then the minute that there's talk about peace and let's chill and unite with these guys, then boom, they're the ones that set it off again.
yeah.
Mm. Well, that you brought up a good point. So what do you think about an ex-cop? And I knew when he did it because I was around that time. We knew exactly who he was. He took down one of the, we're not going to get into that part, but what do you think about an ex-cop, an undercover coming out and trying to teach people how to, do motorcycle club stuff?
I feel like you were never in it for the right intentions. So what are
No.
you really gonna tell us? You was in there to just to destroy everything and bring it down. So what could you really tell us about being a brother? He reached out to me too, but what do I look like, having a conversation with a fed? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
nah, I get killed. Going the people that are like, yo, I love your show, will be the same ones that snipe me as soon as they see me at an event.
Well, that's the largest.
Yeah.
The largest criminal organization is the government, and then you have
Uh,
like whatever their detailed definition of an organized crime. All in unison, wearing the same insignias, colors, everything. I mean, they just write the definitions about themselves. And just like back in the day, if anyone disrupts what they're trying to do, like you think, like let's say for drugs, you really think that drug enforcement would ever stop drugs? And no, it keeps the funding coming too. They
Yeah.
keep feeding it in there. They keep feeding the streets. Same thing with anything else they do.
This is why I've been saying, like, on my channel, and I'm trying not to get Hollywood banned, but that team out there that burns buildings down in Seattle, they have different states where they have burned cities to the ground, and there is no RICO on them, but there's RICOs on
mhm.
these clubs that they've been infiltrated for 2 years, and the worst thing they could say is like, they caught people with like this is the thing, they'll say like 30 guns, they put some cuts there, and it's like they got it from like so many different people, like it's personal straps. I know people that have 30 straps in the crib, just
Come
their
to,
own
come to
person, you know what I
Texas,
mean?
man. Come to Texas, and every house is going to have more than 30 freaking guns.
Yeah.
Well,
So
he
if they
brought
really have
Yeah.
something on
he
them, why
brings
would
up
they
a
be there
damn
for 2 years?
he brings up a damn good point. When Minnesota, flew off, they were blaming the 81 for starting that AutoZone deal.
Yeah.
So he's point on with that. Now, one thing I do like about what your movement's doing is you do target the independents more, I believe, than the club stuff with your Time to Unite stuff, because if you bring the independents into the game, you start building the movement and the numbers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, and then also like you said, most out of the percentage that go into MCs, all were independents. A lot of them.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Well-
if they can come in with that mindset into an MC, if it can be a little contagious, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
You guys got questions, you can put them in the community chat right now. We got Sose, the Ghost and Pound Ghost, and man, everybody knows about that. We'll have Mike later on in the show talking about Mike and how him and Sose got together. It's a real cool story right there. But go ahead, Wild On too. I know you got some questions.
Who for me about shit. Movement, because some people are going to.
I'm just here, I guess.
He screws it up.
Well, a lot of people are going to look at the patch and might say, "Hey, is he trying to?" I'm just playing devil's advocate a little bit, right? Is he trying to just sell things for his business, or is he really trying to make a movement? And what other steps would he try to do?
Your mic went off.
Your mic went off. Go ahead, Sose. I'll put this out to you until he gets back up. Hawk 43 says, What is y'all's opinion on clubs dropping the territory patch and just putting the year established and getting back to the basics of brotherhood, riding, and partying?
They would never do it.
No, they would never do it, man. And really,
Yeah.
I mean, why should they? You know, they earned that. You know, my thing with the peace on the streets thing is, like I was saying earlier, you know, we're not gonna have unity, like true unity, but peace on the streets means everybody just stop with this fighting over territory. Like, you know, like Ghost said earlier, you know, you might have one or two brothers in a chapter, you know, that's involved in some stuff, but when I was in the club, when he was in the club, when any of us have been in a club, we were never involved in like heisting a bank truck and all that stuff that we see on TV, right?
Yeah.
And when you think about it, it's like, okay, so ain't nobody making any moves, ain't nobody selling women, ain't nobody selling drugs, ain't nobody running guns no more. So what the hell are you fighting for besides your ego trip?
I just
I
want to
mean,
say
that's all
something
it really
too.
is at the end of the day.
I want to say something too because Twitchy Fingers is he's saying, but clubbers have special powers and indies don't, and that's it. That's division talk. Like this isn't an
Yeah,
anti-club movement. This is not that. So you saying that
no.
is just is more further divide. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not what this
Yeah,
is about.
and that's the problem. We got people with those kind of attitudes that don't get the whole idea of it. You know
Well,
what I
that
mean? I mean,
Yeah.
you're fighting. You want to fight and you want to argue over nothing. Nobody's running anything. Nobody really legally owns anything. So what's the point?
well, my
You
thing, it
know,
goes.
if there ain't money involved, then why are you fighting?
Hey,
That's
Mikey,
basically
can
it.
you put the link to the patches on community chat? I can't do it right now.
Can you guys hear me
I'm
now?
going to be buying one, so you guys better be buying them.
I hear you
Go
now,
ahead.
Wow.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no. One of the things you guys were just talking about, that's the one of the main problems. People have ideas that somehow they heard and they believe, just like back in the day with racism, with different races, what people believe because that's what was told to them. If you ask them where do you hear that, they'll say, "Well, from someone." It's not from what they learned or seen. Same thing as I say, like clubs have more power, but powers and numbers is like you'd be really surprised. But for
Yeah.
Sose, I just want to throw this out there, devil's advocate, I guess, because I saw someone posting something, but hopefully they got stopped. Nothing big. Just for your patches in general, because some people may say, is he just doing a ploy? Obviously, you know, merch and stuff like that. But what is one of the? I know we talk about movements, but what is one thing that you really want to accomplish? Are you going to try to do an event or something that would actually try to bring people together?
Well, what I'm trying to do first is raise awareness, and then like that's I want to get into like me and D-Lo have talked a lot. Me and Hollywood need to chop it up some more. Like build this awareness first, and then turn it into something real. Like not just a not just like a slogan or something we say,
Or a
like something
gimmick
on
or
the
anything?
ground, like something real, you know. And I've been
Right.
saying like I want it to be like something where I don't want to be the leader or nothing like that. That's not what I'm trying to do. What I want to do is like create something where we all have a voice. And you know, I know some leaders will emerge, but I don't want it to be a political thing. So that's why it's more of an idea right now, and it's something that I want to see come to fruition, but I don't have all the answers to be, you know, to be honest, you know what I mean? But I just want to create something where
Right.
maybe we get a little snowball and then maybe you come up with the idea or something, you know, like, yo, why don't
Well,
we do this? And then it takes off, you know?
Well, that's why I asked that question, just because
Mhm.
I figured that's where you're coming from, and I wanted people to actually hear you say that I'm
Yeah.
not the one trying to get the, you know,
Yeah.
the leader role or anything. I actually was kind of playing that. Hopefully, that you would say that.
I'm gonna
Uh,
say something. I'm gonna say something that I've never said on the air before. Even when I was in a club, the only time I would do sergeant of arms because the president would be like, "Yo, bro, I need you to do this because I need you to hold me down. I need somebody I trust." But I'm not a person that wants to be president, wants to be the leader of something. I want to do my Demons Road thing and have fun and do some creative stuff. I don't want to be a leader as far as like everybody do what I say, I'm the president and all that. Like I think people that do that is corny, personally. You know what I mean? So
mhm.
I want this to be more of a thing where we just all have like it's just so ground level that like You know who's a good, for instance? I don't know. You might know him. While do you know the cartel baggers?
Yes. Yeah.
So I seen them in Florida.
Yeah, I know that.
They're not in the club. They were as deep. They were as deep as some of the clubs, and they're just is girls there, is guys. They're chilling. They got the dopest bikes. You know what I mean? And they're just going to have a good time.
Awesome
But
events,
everybody
dude.
doesn't have to be, you know, have the money to have the most tricked out bike and what I'm talking about. But I want something like that where people have a good time and do events and stuff, you know?
Mhm. Well, one thing that
Mhm.
disappointed me was after Twin Peaks. The first year was a big year. And if you guys don't know what happened at Twin Peaks, you really got to get into it. Don't go to the media stuff. I talked to Popeye and OG. Every year on the anniversary, they would protest on the courthouse steps because the trials were still going. And remind you, they arrested over 200 people, I think it was. Only one went to trial, beat that one on a hung jury. But the first year it was a pretty big turnout for unification. But after that, it kind of went by the wayside. And I remember when Sose was bringing up maybe a million biker type of gathering. And then
Yeah.
you'd sit back and say, well, are they going to show up? Because they didn't show up when we were needed down in Texas. And that's where the unity with, I think, Hidden the Independence is going to go really good. Is we got to show up, people. We got to
Yeah.
show up and stand together.
You know what? And Twin Peaks is really case in point of how scared our government is of all of us getting together. Because a bunch of us got together that day, and what happened? You
There
know?
was a turkey shoot. Four people got shot up by the cops with AR-15s, like it was in a shooting gallery.
That's why I
Oh,
think
Yep.
that it has to be a little bit craftier. And I'll just bring up a for
Yeah.
instance, like what happened in Canada, right? They canceled all the GoFundMe money that got sent to the truckers out there. If we're all together, GoFundMe is done. The word is out. Nobody, so
Yep.
they go out of business. You know what I mean? If we're really on the same
Yep.
page, hundreds of thousands of bikers, we're controlling a lot
Uh,
of stuff, bro. Like we could
oh,
put a
yeah.
company out of
Yep.
business.
People really underestimate themselves. That's the problem. They think,
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, my soul voice is not going to make a change. But when you start, if you go, it's like dominoes effect. It's collective. It's a collective thing. And I know I saw some people posting on the comment section. Of course, no patches, no politics. But we don't want to go the route that Australia is going. We don't want to go the route that's something that you can't even wear a patch. Even the patch that Sose is wearing, that won't even be allowed. Don't get me wrong. I understand that if we go all to the same club, all wearing different, normally we wear different colors, come in a club with no colors, we all get along great. Colors do change the way people perceive each other by previous notions of stories we sometimes don't even know about. So it's pretty funny that, I mean, I would hope that we don't get to that route, but if people think that would not happen in the U.S.,
Mhm.
it could
Well,
happen.
Dude,
one
they've been
thing-
trying it for years.
Yeah.
Well, one
it's
thing,
getting closer and closer.
Sose was
Yeah.
really
That's the scary part. Yeah.
the truckers, and that's, you know what, that's a perfect example. When you were covering the truckers up in Canada, how many stuck together. And then when the American truckers, there's, a little bit, but it tells you about our culture. Is why couldn't we match what Canada was doing as a movement? You know more about the trucker stuff than I do. So why didn't Americans get behind a cause like that?
I think that like what I was saying before, us doing like shutdowns of companies and stuff like that is stronger. I'm tired of like, because I went to the Million MAGA March. Like a lot of people get mad at me about stuff like that, but I really don't care. My beliefs are my beliefs. So when like the truckers all going to DC and honking their horns and stuff, I feel like it's kind of like, please allow me to have my rights. And I think bikers are more like, we're gonna live on our terms. I think that's, like I'm trying to say it in a way where I don't get like feds on me, but it's I want it to be more of a movement where it's like, we know you said that, but we have people too, and we're not gonna bow down to you. You know what I mean? Like we're gonna like the rights that were given to us, God-given rights. We're gonna exercise them. You can't tell us that we're gonna stay home. And that's one thing I could say. Bikers were outside when everybody else wasn't, but we can expand on that.
Right. A couple
I used to tell everybody when we're all on the shutdowns and everything, I'm like, really, my life hasn't changed much. You know, I get on my bike, I ride. I don't really go to bars much. I'm not a bar guy. I'm not a drinker. So my life didn't change a whole lot, you know, except for work. That was about it.
Well, you said work though, Danny, which is a big thing that in Canada. That's what people in the U.S. sometimes get scared. I think U.S. is known for. I mean, we work so much more than we're at work more than at home, right? So people are scared, and sometimes that selfishness kicks in about making my money, you know, paying my bills, and sometimes putting just a little. Use that fear and use it for the good, and actually, like say. That's what people get scared. Same thing of the job. If everybody quits at the same time, trust me, everybody will get raises and stuff. But if once one person says it doesn't agree about quitting, then you're screwed because then they're going to have people stay and work.
Yeah,
but that's the fear that our government has put into us as Americans. You know, our society's weak that way.
Not to get away from the conversation, I'll address you, Twitchy, real quick. Avoiding the fact y'all spread division. You know what? That was back and forth, the schoolyard crap off of freaking BS division. I'm gonna try to stay calm, guys. The important fact is everybody came back together. Everybody can have disagreements, but at the same time, you come together, get over those disagreements, and you move forward. Was division spread between channels? Yeah. But now everybody's back to the same deal where we're trying to push something good out. We're only humans.
This is the whole point of this show, Twitchy, is that we were once divided, and then we came together and said it's enough. It's stupid, and now here we are all together, which is what we're trying to prove to you, people. And on the other side of it, that's what I'm trying to prove with the club stuff. If we can do it, you can do it. Everybody can do it. And you just got to stand up and say, it's time to do it.
It sounds like Rocky.
And you're being men that's what men do. We make mistakes and then we try to learn from it. So at the end of the day, everybody here is like saying what they did wrong and trying to fix it. Like nobody's perfect. We're not perfect. We're all trying to figure it out. You know?
Pride aside. I mean, that's
and you know what? After this show, just because we're all on here just because we're on here with Sose and we're all getting along and we're all cool, it doesn't mean that we're all going to hold hands and agree on everything that we all talk about. We're still men, and it is what it is. But you know what? We can do it respectfully. We can respect each other's channels. We can respect each other as men, and we can admit when we're wrong and when we're right. Simple as that.
One of the biggest things was I came from a different generation. I came where I learned everything from...
That dude got my blood pumping.
You're right. I learned from Vietnam veterans where it was a different mental attitude. And I couldn't see where Sose was coming from because of that generational gap. And it taught me a lot over the last couple weeks, month, whatever. Well, wait a second. You're now the older guy. These guys think different, just like you gave hell to the generation that taught you. Times change. We can't be stuck in the days where, you know, it was always, we're never going to get along because we used to be bringing up, well, what about our brothers that got shot up and stuff like that, got into prison? Would we disrespect that stuff where the younger guys are saying, you know what? I didn't even know in the 1970s the two big clubs got into it over stupid crap, but that led to people getting killed, and that led to the bad blood where it is possible to come together. So was there division? I'd have to say mostly on my part. I'm not going to lie. I'll fess up. It was mostly because I didn't see where he was coming from because I was stuck in my old ways. I was stuck in a mentality of, okay, this is the way we did it. That's the way it happens. And I was living through a different time period than it is now.
That's always been like the biggest, dumbest, most idiotic part of what people say too from the old school days, like, well, you know, you don't know how many of my brothers were killed, so that means let's continue this idiotic behavior and keep killing each other and losing more good brothers that are alive right now. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
And then I
you know,
stepped
doing the
back and I
same
said,
thing and expecting a different consequence is insanity. You know?
well, then I stepped back and I said, well, wait a second. He's actually wanting to do this. This ain't a gimmick. This ain't, you know, a marketing ploy. This ain't for money. He actually wants it to happen.
Yeah.
And that's what really changed.
Right.
I actually want a creator fight night. That's what I wanted.
A what?
The
Oh,
creator,
what?
You gotta step your mic game up, bro.
Man,
Nah,
normally it is. Today,
I
all
think you
days.
far away from the mic. That's why.
And camera
said
holder.
that,
We're all gonna chip in and buy you a camera holder.
You should. You should. No, I'll say I was really gearing for creator fight night. That's what I was wanting to do.
And I, you know,
Yeah, but then you'd be all crying and whining when you got beat up.
Creator fight.
Hey, that's
what
the
do you
whole
mean,
point,
like,
man. But I'll get a hug from you though, at least.
What do you mean, like you mean like I get to get my hands on Twitch type deal, like that?
Yeah,
I'm down for that, bro.
No, that's what I'm saying. I go, if someone has a problem, man, we just get in the ring like you know, street beefs. Nah.
Oh yeah, like that dude, Mighty Mouse. Yeah, no.
Yeah, Mighty Mouse.
Yeah.
So a lot of that stuff came from just, you can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Yeah.
Where Sose and guys like Danny D'Lo, Carlos, they're the future. And it's time, I'd have to say, the old guys just back off and let them do their thing, because we did ours.
God, I hope our future don't depend on wild on twos. I really don't.
Damn right you don't.
No, but it doesn't have to be like that. We can work together and bring each other up. You know,
well, that's the whole thing, man.
Yes, sir.
Everybody has their strengths and weaknesses, and use everybody's individual strength to actually help each other up and get better. That's it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you did that one video where you were talking about the need, where the older guys, they're always bitching and moaning about the younger guys, but the older guys didn't take the time to teach. I remember that video while you were running around. Thanks for that, Gio, on the bike and stuff, and it really made a lot of sense.
Yeah, of course. A lot of times people, even the new generation, sometimes they don't want to hear it. And there's sometimes really great advice that they could get, but they don't want to open their ears, just like a lot of the old school don't want to open their eyes of the change that's coming.
Right.
I mean, that if you see the way the world has changed in general, you're telling me guys back in the day wouldn't love cell phones like the way they do now. These guys are 70 years old and they live off their cell phones now. If they had the technology that we do today, they'll be doing the same. They'll be doing the same thing. And and you always hear them.
Hey,
say
don't
that.
get me wrong. I'm glad there wasn't cell phones in the 90s, by the way.
Oh my God, I'll be
These kids don't even know
none of us would be here.
Yeah, we all be.
No,
you guys wouldn't know what a freaking beeper and a quarter was.
We used to have
me?
We used to have tokens to get on the
shit. I had beepers.
Well, tell me about Mike Sose before I bring him in and stuff like that. He went through a real hard period, and he's actually an inspiration. You guys get to meet him and stuff on how to overcome a real bad situation.
Yeah, Mike is a brother to me. We came real close. Like, it was weird. Like, we started getting cool right before he had the accident, and then we were live, and this fool loses his leg. He's on the bed, just had his leg taken off, and he's live with us. Like, he's like, yeah, I just lost my leg. I'm like, what? So everybody showed him so much love that it just really helped him at a rough time, you know. And it's crazy that he was even like on his cell phone, really just lost his leg, and this fool gets on a bike in like 2 months. And it's not an exaggeration. He really got on it in 2 months. I had a wreck like maybe like 4 years ago, and I had 2 surgeries, my elbow and my shoulder. I was out for longer on the elbow than he was on his leg, losing his entire leg. He's a maniac.
Man,
I'd have been on 3. I'd have been on
With bubble wrap.
Like, I swear to God.
Well, you guys get your questions ready and stuff like that for Sosa, and we're gonna bring in Mikey right now. Or Mike, you know what? The younger guys always go, "What, Mike Ball?" There you are. What's up, Mike? How you doing, man?
What's good, Mike?
What up?
Appreciate you guys.
So tell us about how you met Sose and your accident and how you persevered getting through that hard time in your life, man.
You know, it was all really a trip, man. And this is a total. It could be written in a book now. You know, it's a fairy tale now. But I went through a traumatic time. Obviously, I lost my leg, and like Sose said, he was live that Sunday, and I happened to call in. You know, after I got. When I woke up from my forced intubation, I was able to call in and be like, "Hey, bro, you know, like I just want to let you know that I just lost my leg. You know what I mean? But I'm still in high spirits. We're gonna get back on the bike and we're doing this shit." And that's when, you know, Sose and me really started getting a real connection. You know, and we were able to talk on the phone a lot and on private. You know, and we just became like instant. You know. And so it was like I had to have him in SoCal. Like he was doing so well on his show. I was like, you need to be in SoCal. This is where all the action's at. Like I'm gonna show you. And he sure did, man. When he showed up, it was fucking epic. We had parties, we had exclusives, VIP, everything, bro. It was a scene out of a movie, bro. We got swarmed by the clubs while we were driving from the airport just to go get something to eat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was
That's righteous.
It was crazy, bro.
So how did your accident go down? And you know, I know you lost your leg, but at least you didn't lose something between your legs. That's even better for you.
Absolutely.
But how did the accident go down?
Well, there was a person. I was just riding home. I was riding home with my previous club. I was riding with them, and I broke off from the pack, and I was only 2 blocks away from home, and that's where it happened. You know, they always say it happens close to home.
Yeah.
There's this lady that she was drinking. She came back from a bar, you know what I mean, and made an illegal left turn, and literally T-boned, you know, did a 90-degree turn at 70-something miles per hour, you know what I mean? And this is a community, you know what I mean? Like that, you obviously floored the gas when you meant to brake, you know? It was the total fuck situation. Sorry, excuse me. But, you know, she T-boned me right there, and then literally my leg was chopped off at the scene. And thank God there was a civilian. There's no one that walked out. There was a civilian on the bike. And I flew past him, and like he felt the motion of me coming at him, and he felt it. And I went past him, and I tumbled down, and I was conscious, and I was bleeding out. I saw my blood squirting out of my leg. I mean, it was full on. Every time my heart pumped, it was gnarly, and I couldn't turn it myself because I had broken my scapula as well, so I couldn't even move my arms to even like take off my own belt to tourniquet myself. I couldn't move my arms. So luckily this guy that never wears a belt happened to fucking wear a belt that day and save my life, you know? And that's why I really think that people should know how to apply one. You know, it saved my
man.
Yeah.
But I mean,
thank God for that gentleman too, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's my angel right there. Shout out to
So how did your relationship with Sose give you the moment? You know, what did he help you do to get back on track? You know, was it you all by yourself, or did he help you say, you know what, this happened, let's get through this?
It was more of like, hey, let's get to work. You know what I mean? Like I never skipped a beat. Like the moment it happened, when it happened, down. I said, if I live through this, I have to accept it now. You know what I mean? And I did, you know, because when I woke up from that hospital bed, when I woke up from that forced coma, I was happy. I lived through it. I remembered everything, you know? So like I was
Right.
so if I lived through it, I was stoked. So to this day, I wake up every single day, I'm blessed, bro. Like I get another day to ride. And I mean, it sucks, but I even went down yesterday or the day before, sorry, Friday. I went down, unfortunately, on the freeway, you know, and I got a little bit, you know, but it's all right. The bike is getting treated up right now at the big homie's house, and then we'll be back to riding in 3-4 days.
And you know, when he went through that,
Man, you
his
got such
spirits,
a positive attitude about that. It's crazy, man.
yo,
God
bro,
bless you, dude.
when he
Yeah,
went through
bro.
that, his spirits was up like that day when it happened. Like he got his leg chopped and his
Yeah.
spirits was up. Like
Like I'm just sitting
he
here back
accepted it.
thinking, like, man, if that happened to me, there's no way I couldn't be that positive. I know I couldn't. Like I don't know, man. That's crazy, man.
But until you go through it yourself, I think you even
Yeah.
know how far you can go. You know, I mean,
Yep. You're right. You're right.
I would be able to overcome something like this in my previous life, right? Like, I mean, obviously my life has dramatically changed since then, and we've, you know, that's something that you accept. And I don't
Right.
know. It's just a blessing to be alive, and when your heart and you're actually grateful to be alive, man, you don't take advantage. You take advantage of situations. You shouldn't be so arrogant to shut down opportunities so fast. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, you see the worth of time.
Absolutely.
Right? The worth of time.
Yeah.
A lot of you could either, and he accepted the fact right away, because or not, he's going to dwell in depression and waste time. We live on borrowed time. What we have, he knows, what we have today can leave tomorrow. So that's the thing we got to be careful.
Uh-huh.
No,
Yep.
you're 100% right. You know, and I'm just like I said, man. I went down yesterday, and I'm glad that. I mean, people are like, "Damn, man, your bike is messed up." Blah blah blah. I'm like, dude, I don't even care. Like, if I literally can walk away from an accident, bro, like that's a win in my book. You know what I mean? Just,
How did that further your relationship, Sose, with Mike, knowing he went through this and kind of he was all into your message, wanted to be a part of everything? How did that develop with you guys?
I think Mike is like a brother from another lifetime. We clicked right away, so we just got close right away. So it's just hard to explain. It was always love with him. Like it's just very strange. But sometimes people come in your life, you're like, oh shit, like, you know. And that's how me and him were. We was just real close, you know. But the thing about him is that, like, even when I was in Cali, there's a genuineness about him. Like he wants to see you win. He wants to see you have a good time. He's everything. I notice like people's intentions are good sometimes, but what the result of whatever you like. I'm trying to think of a good, for instance, to break this down. Like, all right, I really believe this. If somebody says they have your back to the fullest, and every time they do something, it seems to not work out, I believe that they don't have your best interest at heart. Mike is the type that'll be like, yo, trust me. And it'll be some amazing shit. And you're like, what the? This kid is like a miracle kid. Like, he'll just come up with shit. Yo, bro,
Right.
the way he did my party, like, it was just like, yo, trust me, bro. Like, every time he says, yo, trust me, bro. And I got another brother like that, Dame. These two, they'll bring up something and so much will come from it. And I noticed that, like, if you really look into what happens with people around you, not what they say, but what happens, it says a lot about a person. And it showed me, you know, his character. You know, there's not a lot of people like him. You know, he's special. He's a special person. You know,
and that just shows in general about just like what we're talking about, even about unity and all that stuff. It takes one person to have a positive attitude, and it actually spreads. Because I bet his attitude and his positivity probably made you better itself by meeting him. And then
Uh-huh.
in essence, the more that just spreads and having positive, because if he was depressed and being like wants sympathy, and then everybody around him will feel that, and it'll kind of react the same way.
You're 100%.
You know what's so?
I want to say something regarding that. You know, I mean, it's very true. I could have laid up, right, and been depressed, do that whole rabbit hole, right? I could have, and no one would have judged me. No one, people would have been like, yeah, I mean, like I would too. You know, some people would understand, like I would rightfully be able to do that. But guess what? You're gonna lose everyone around you. You're gonna lose everyone. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because negativity, bro, is just it's a negative thing.
It's like the plague.
So I don't know, man. It's just glad to be fucking here, really. And that's how it PMA, man, positive mental attitude can just change your life. You know, and I learned it in the moment because I wasn't like that in my past, you know, before really this. You know, this I feel like made me a better person. Yeah, I lost a leg, but I gained so much knowledge. Yeah, I might have gained a bigger heart, you know, and it made me actually understand things. I think I jumped a few years because of it, you know.
Now you're going to be a part of a podcast with Sose. What kind of podcast you going to be doing, Mike? And where do you want it to go? What do you guys got set up as far as, are you going to be doing commentary, guests? What can everybody look forward to? Yeah,
guys. So it's Road to the Riches. You can find us pretty much everywhere. But we're going to be launching here soon. It's going to be incredible. We're able to actually speak freely on these podcasts, and we're able to actually dive deep into subjects. Now, when we bring guests on, because of course we're going to bring guests on, we're not really going to interview them. We're going to, you know what I mean? Like, we're just going to
vibe out with them. You know?
Just talk like you're saying.
Hang out and talk, yeah.
Like, we're on that topic. It's like, we want your thought process as well. So that's how we grow. So
like a guest host almost. Like a guest host almost, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll get you guys
that'd be cool.
We'll get all you guys on it separately, whole bunch of us. Like, yeah. But it's not gonna be, I wanted to start MC and biker, but go broader. You know, I want to expand my horizons, you know? Yeah.
Right.
That's cool, man.
Well,
that's really cool.
You know what? That's the best thing about the podcast and radio, whatever you want to call it, is you're just not in that box of, okay, we got to talk about this club. We got to talk, because after all, it gets boring. Actually, you want to get into more thought stuff.
You don't want to get stuck in that little niche like that,
right?
That's why I try to put a little something different out there. Like, you know, when I talked about the depression and being a biker and stuff like that, like, you know, you got to put different vibes out there, man, because it does get boring just talking about MC. Like, you know, I want to speak to everybody. I don't want to speak to just one person, you know.
That's because you're looking for a girlfriend.
That's true.
No, I ain't looking for none of that. I ain't looking for none of that, ladies. No,
he looks down. He looks down on the toes. That's the last time I'll say
that. Oh God, are we ever gonna get over the fact that I like girls with pretty feet?
Did you ever see that he has a toe fetish?
A toe fetish?
I ain't got no toe fetish. Look, so this is what happened, bro. On one of the shows, I said I like girls with pretty feet, and then this guy just went hog wild with it. That, you know, now I'm some savage with feet and shit.
Dude, we had a show.
It's kind of gotten a little ridiculous, to be really honest. I ain't gonna lie.
So when you put Sose's party together, Mike, what was the thought process as far as, okay, I want it like this, I want it to happen like that? How much work went into it?
It was a lot of, you know, big homies that shout out to them. You know what I mean? Like, I really believe that you are in exactly what Sose has taught me from another saying, is that you are the surrounding of the top. You are the average of the 5 people you hang around for no good reason. You know what I mean? And those people are like my big homies. And I happen to know and have this network that is fairly large and able to actually reach out to people and these are genuine connections, you know what I mean? Like these are people that I have like either talked to or we've done business or whatever, you know what I mean? So it's genuine connections. It's not like we're out here just trying to make money. It's not about that. It's about really brotherhood at the end of the day, you know? So that's what, you know, I see a lot of people that, you know, even negative shit, like I just don't respond to it. I don't give it any attention. You know, I'm a big believer in upping everybody, including yourself. You should up everyone, you know? Why drag?
Right.
You should be happy for the next person that succeeds.
Absolutely.
You should.
If your brother's winning, you're winning. Why wouldn't you want your fucking brother to win? I just don't get it. I don't. You know?
Man, that's big facts right there. Big
That's
facts.
one of the things you always see, that there are always people wanting you to fail. It's just crazy.
Yep.
How have you dealt
actually-
with? How have you dealt, Sose, with the haters, man? Because I know we have them, man. I'm the most hated content creator around. But how you deal?
I just text Sose something like that the other night, right?
I don't really feed into it too much. Like, the other content creators making videos about me was kind of something that I had to get used to, you know, because they're calling me out, you know, but you know, like the comments is a lot of people with very little testosterone in their body. They got very small nuts, so like, you know,
hiding behind that keyboard and shit.
yeah.
Talking all that stuff, but they see us on the street and they're the same people that probably walk up to us like, "Hey bro, how you doing, man? Dude, I love your show." It's like, man, I know some of these people that are the ones talking that stuff, man.
I don't know, man. You got to kind of feel sorry for people that like jump in the comments and always got something to say. Like, I don't know. It's just
right.
I couldn't imagine
it
myself
is.
just going on someone's live under a fake profile with like SpongeBob as mine. Like, you got mental
Right.
issues. Like,
Yeah, I don't promote that at all, man. I don't condone it one bit, man. I was at a party one night and this dude walked up to me and I could just tell like I know how Sos, like he's real big on vibes and I kind of am too. And the vibe of this dude just told me from Front Street that this dude's one of them haters. You know what I'm saying? And he walked up to me and he's like, "Oh man, you know, hey, you're Danny D'Lo, right?" And I'm like, "Oh boy." I'm like, "Yeah, what's up, man?" And he's like, "Yeah, I watch your stuff." And I'm like, "Oh, that's cool, man. I appreciate you." You know, and I shook his hand. And then right away he started talking about this some off the wall dumb stuff. And I just looked at him, bro. I put him in a headlock, man. I put my arm around him and like pulled him in close. And I'm like, "I bet you're one of those punks that like talking tough, ain't you?" And he was just like, "No, man, no, not at all." I'm like, "Man, I already know you, man." I'm like, "Go over there, dude."
Mike, you got a question for Mark. Do you have a prosthetic leg? You ride 2 wheels, side hack, or a 3-wheeler?
I ride 2 wheels forever. And
he ride too hard.
So here's my other shoe from the accident from today, or Friday, I mean. A little bit of road rash. But yeah,
do I need to get you training wheels, man?
I think so.
You know what it is with Mike?
We need to bubble wrap him, man.
You know what it is with Mike? Once he'll pull out of the driveway doing 30. It's like, bro, speed first. Like, I never
that's when you think your bike is jacked up.
Like,
you can't
he's doing 30 in a couple of seconds. I'm like, what the fuck?
He gets ghost right now. Meow.
I'm old school on that. I cruise. You're gonna see me when I come by.
That's some lowrider stuff, right? Just cruising one handed, chilling.
Right.
Well, I think this question to be for everybody, but we'll start off for think most of the haters that you're encountering on your channels is supporters of clubs, and they actually cause a lot of problems that go out onto the street where
they cause more problems.
I think it's more somebody that's disgruntled that was maybe like I know from the past, you know, and it's something like that. Like they're like somebody that wasn't built like that, but now they see me up there, they throw a little dirt on my name or whatever, say something like that. I don't really think it's like support clubs. I mean, of course, you got those people that like got
no, I'm talking about supporters.
Oh, supporters of a club.
Yeah,
Just
a
a supporter.
supporter of their favorite club or something like that. They go out there, talk all kinds of crap. Because one thing that I did on my channel, I put it where I'm talking crap about other clubs, I'm deleting you.
Oh yeah, I
I
don't
don't
really
get
fit
much
into
of that,
that.
thank God.
Yeah, I don't like that when people just try to like talk bad about a club or whatever. Like even y'all know, like when everybody was going in on like Iron Order, I never said nothing about them because I really don't know them, you know. So I didn't want to like. I that's one thing that I hold true to is like I don't want to put nobody down because you don't know, you know. I
Yeah,
don't know the club, so I don't want to put them down, you know. But I know
yeah,
Hollywood has put people down for, you know, being exposed to be pedos and stuff like that. So
uh,
it be real stuff, you know. So I get it, you know. And I know a lot
Right.
of people from, you know, Hollywood's era is like, if you're a rat, I'm putting it out there, like, you know, like
Yeah,
that's
that's
just
the way
how
uh,
we
it is, you
were.
know. So,
yeah.
yeah.
Question from Robert Danny. Ye- yeah, I'll address BD in a minute. Question for Danny. What got you started on creating content for social media, YouTube? Really enjoy all of your channels. That could go to Sose. That can go to Wild on 2 and Mike with the podcast.
Well, I appreciate that for one. You know, oddly enough, so I've always had this fear of dying. All right, I'm gonna keep it real. All right, I always had, and it's not that like I'm scared to die. It's just for some reason I've always had this fear of like dying of some horrible disease. Like it's always been weird that way since I was a little kid. And I've always just in my mind, I've always been like, man, I just wish I could live forever. But you know, realistically, that ain't gonna happen, right? And so I'm living on bonus time right now anyway, kind of like Mike Ball. So
I'm
you
on.
know, I feel
You know, about to change your name.
I feel
You
you,
said
Ovi. I
Mike
feel
balls.
you.
Let's say said your balls.
Hollywood, I'm gonna use the bathroom real
So
quick.
All right, bud.
yeah, that being said, you know, we don't get to live forever. So I wanted to start doing content to not only educate the MC community, but educate independents to keep people from getting in trouble, getting into, you know, getting hurt. But I also, you know, wanted to talk to the young bucks out here to give them something, which I'm going to get into some more topics like this on my channel, some more videos where, you know, just telling kids to stay away from the gang life, stay away from certain parts of life, man, and just go another way with it. But you know, I wanted, like, kind of like what Sol said earlier, I wanted my legacy to live forever because I can't. So knowing that I can build up a huge channel, hopefully someday I'll be at Sos the Ghost level, you know, who knows, right? And you know, I just want to know that when I die, that all of you are still going to be watching me, listening to my words, and hopefully I'm still going to be continuing to help people 100 years from now. And knowing that is what keeps me going, is what keeps me fueled to keep doing content, you know, knowing that my legacy will live forever because I can't, you know. So that's kind of what got me to do it.
They're gonna all be like, "Who the hell were these people, and what were they thinking?" Mike, what got you into wanting to do the podcast with Sos and all that stuff?
Well, man, you know, there's more to it than just the podcast. You know, there's so much that I don't know. Like my whole get down on my platform is really to show people that your life isn't over an injury, disability, or whatever. You know, you make it what you make it. You know,
Right.
and that's my whole thing. Like I need to be bedside with these guys that when they're in question of like, am I going to be able to even live, let alone ride again? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I need to be talking to these people and showing them like, hey, like it's a whole mind. You know what I mean? It's 90% mental.
Right.
You
Well,
just
That's such a huge thing too, Mike. That's so
we've been
awesome, dude. It
holding
really is, man.
Sos and them for
I,
a long time, so I'm going to get some questions in before letting them go. I'll address this one 42%. Or how does any organization who's been infiltrated so many times have any street cred? Well, the first thing I would say is maybe ask the outfit about that, or the mafia, as it's called on the East Coast, see if they'd think the same way if they didn't have any street cred. But clubs are clubs; they're not street gangs. And I've said that all the time, that they're not even on the same level as a street gang, because they're not out there willingly trying to make money. This ain't, you guys got to remember, this ain't the 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s, man. They're not out there doing that anymore. You know, that was a different time period before, you know, all the technology and stuff. So, you know, when you ask, well, how many, you know, how does an organization that's been infiltrated so many times have any street cred? Go to some of the hardcore outfits, man, and ask that.
Right.
Hey, Hollywood, I was going to just say, if I can just answer the last thing, because what got me into, like, mine, I'm a little different. I'm more of a motovlogger, right? I ride a motorcycle and just rant. And what got me doing that is here in Texas, we get stopped so many times, and other things happen with the police. And so I actually put cameras, because an event that happened with me that didn't go so well with the police, that I put cameras on purpose to show what I was really, up to in regards catching them on their act. But then I also ranted a lot in general. So then it came to there, but mine was more an accident. And I don't really care in regards toward, obviously, Hollywood to kind of know, I don't do this full time or anything. This is not, these guys put their heart, everything they have into it. I have a business I started, and I do other things outside of here. This is more for like my enjoyment, but I love putting out thoughts out, to help others in general. So it's awesome to see how these guys put their time in. But mine is more the profiling happening in Texas in general, and how fast it's spreading across the country. And the more rights are getting stripped away more and more every day. So that's what got me into the motovlogging. But that's a whole different ballgame.
I don't know how we've allowed that to even happen. All the BS in Texas. I don't even know how allowed that to happen as a community.
Right. Well, I'll address the elephant in the room. A lot of people have been asking if all the beefs with BD are gonna, try to get put behind you, Sose or Mike. I don't. That was just.
I don't have no hate towards that man at all. A lot of people have reached out on that end, and they think I got hate towards him. I got zero hate towards that man. I don't know him. I don't even know him.
You know what I mean? Like we really don't. We just don't focus on it.
Right.
There's been times where people have said that, like, I was referring to him, and I've said openly on the channel, like, I'm not talking about BD. And still, I guess it was competitive, and then it got worse, and then it became like personal,
way worse.
But I don't have no ill intentions towards him at all.
Right.
That's the honest truth. You know what I mean? Like I'm on the phone with Sose all the time, and of course that topic has come up before. Dude has no hate for that man.
Right.
And just like most of us, right? If everybody's negative around you, you fall right into that negativity and catch yourself even talking shit or something. And then you take a step back, like Sose, I don't even know him. How could I judge someone without knowing them? If they knew me, they'll probably change their perception of me. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
So that happened to me in Hollywood, didn't it?
Right. That it did, man. He didn't know.
Negative attracts negativity, I guess.
Right. But I think it was a real good show, man. I'm really looking forward to the podcast. Seeing you guys.
Yeah, I definitely want to check that out.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun, man. It's gonna be.
You guys are gonna have a lot more fun.
It's righteous. That's the right word to say. You know what I mean? Definitely.
Yep. It will be righteous for sure, man. I like the idea.
Yep.
Hey, Mike, where are you located?
I'm in currently I'm in Anaheim, California, Southern. So
behind communist lines. I
gotta bring myself down there, man. I see so many videos of the West Coast, man, and how y'all get down, and I'm just like, why do I live where I live, bro? Like,
yeah, no.
I live in the wrong area, man.
We're gonna give Sose the floor and let him go.
Once you look at the rent prices, though, you'd be like, "Yeah, I'm going back to Chicago."
You're not gonna retire.
$3,500 for a studio fucking apartment.
Once you
not
go to the gas
retiring in
station,
Cali.
you like, yo, I'm out of here.
I just paid
$60,
$60 to fill my bike up. I'm gone.
crazy, bro.
Yeah, it's like $3,000 for a 2-bed, 1 bath.
So somebody right here
Yeah.
said, I saw Sose the Ghost. He seems to have a problem with BLM. I always say this, like, listen, I'm from New York. I'm cool with so many people that actually wear BLM shirts. What I say about BLM is about the organization, not the people on the ground level that are not even affiliated with it. But as an organization, I am against what they believe in because I don't believe in a separation, and that's a separation tactic. And you got to do your homework on something before you stand tall with it. There was a lot of hurt that was going on in the streets. Like, I'm from New York. They were burning their own businesses. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
They did the same thing out here in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and I was actually down there, like helping out as much as I could and stuff. And yeah, see, to me, I'm actually different. I think if you're wearing that shirt, you're kind of stupid. You didn't do your own you didn't educate yourself. You didn't do your own homework. You know what I mean? Because now look at everything that's coming out into the play now. You know, people are starting to see what that group was really about. You know,
Yeah.
like the original group and everything. And it's like, you know, you guys could have made a difference if you did things the right way, but you did, like you said, separation. You started right off the bat. You're trying to fight racism with being racist. I mean,
Yeah.
come on. You know what I'm saying?
BLM was
I always had a
created.
problem with it because I'm like, they talk about police brutality, and I'm like, bro, I'm from the west side of Chicago, dog. I've been beat. I've been locked up for absolutely nothing but walking down the street looking Latino. Like, bro, I've been through it, man. And it's like, I'm not. You see what color my skin is, man. Like, what about me? You know. So
BLM was
yeah, I'm
created.
against it all completely.
But BLM was created so that another Black Panther Party wasn't created. It's an infiltrated movement. That's my problem with BLM. It's not the people that believe in. It's not saying that people that are Black lives don't matter. They did that sneakily. It's the same thing with Make America Great Again. Why is it why is it wrong to say Make America Great Again? Why is that wrong? You know, it's the same. I don't know, man. People get mad at me for Hollywood.
Well, there went
I
this
just keep
show.
it real, bro. I don't worry about
When
what
you get
people
into politics, there's always going to be someone. The funny thing is, that's the same people that will say, "Hey, I don't hate that. I can't hate someone I never met." But then if you talk about politics, man, they'll hate you, and they don't even have to meet you.
Yeah, that's
well, we're gonna turn it over to
Sose.
We're gonna turn it over to Sose. Let him get his final thoughts out and all that good stuff, and then Mike and all that, because they've been on here for about 2 hours. Sose already went and drained the lizard, so you know. But go ahead, Sose.
I ain't gonna lie, I'm starting to look at my bottle of water right now.
Like, I just want to say, like, through all the BS, everybody has their faults, but you know what? Hollywood stood tall. At the end of the day, we sat at the table and said, this doesn't make sense. So shout to him, shout to D-Lo, because you know what? Me and D-Lo spoke, and he spoke to Hollywood. And, you know, I should have picked up the phone and called Hollywood myself, but these are the two people that I actually knew and actually spoke to. So the other people I didn't know, like, in the situation, but I want to give mad love to this channel, and we're going to be doing more work, and we're going to have our differences, you know, and we're not going to disrespect, though, you know, and we have our own way of doing things. But I have a lot of ideas where we're going to come together and have fun, you know what I mean, and do some big things, and everybody's channel is going to grow and our community is going to grow. So with that, I'll leave y'all much love.
Rock on, man.
That's what's up.
Mikey, you got to say something, man. You're on.
No, I appreciate you guys for having me on and us on. It's been a blessing all the way around. You know what I mean? Going through basically hell and back, and you know, it's been just a roller coaster, but we're still here, man. You know, and positive mental attitude, man. That's what I'm gonna leave you guys with. You know what I mean? You guys can. That's how you change the world. Everyone asks that question. You know, how you change the world. I'm gonna tell you how you change the world right now. The way you change the world is your world. And then it changes the people around you in their world. And then it's a trickle down effect. You got to change yourself. That's the only thing that I'm the show with. I appreciate you guys.
Rock on.
Much love, man.
Wild on
Much
2,
love.
Carlos, my crime partner.
Well, I mean, it's everybody said it in a nutshell. At the end of the day, in order to, you have to get to the core of everything. If you actually want to make change, you don't have to agree on everything. You're not going to be. It's not going to be a kumbaya. I don't care what we do. You're never going to unite everybody. The whole thing is just kind of work together and just be cordial about things. That's like the biggest thing to do. At the end of the day, one of the biggest things, like in Hamlet, I guess it said the Grim Reaper said the day he was born, he started working every day. Every day since you were born is the day you start dying, right? So you got to live this life on borrowed time and make it worthwhile, just like Mike did. You got to take a positive thought and just move forward. That's all you got to do.
Rock on, man. Rock on. Danny.
So I just want to say to both you, Mike and Sose, thanks for being on. You know, the whole point of me trying to help put this together and Hollywood put this together was to show unification, to show peace, at least on the YouTube streets, as we might call it, right? And you know, my whole idea behind it is to show you guys that, you know what, we're all grown men. We can admit that we were wrong, and we can move forward together, separately, whatever. It doesn't matter. But you know, we're gonna keep doing our thing, and now it's gonna be on a positive note. And I just hope that some way, somehow, this reached many of you 1% brothers out here that, you know, are on the streets doing your thing, and see that, you know what, I know a lot of y'all watch us. You can see creators come together. So, you know, why don't we try to work on getting you guys together and just have some peace on the streets, man? Quit this war, bro. And that's all I got to say to that. Much love and respect.
Rock on, man. Sose is on every Friday at you're Eastern time, so I don't know that time. What time are you on, Sose?
I Monday, Wednesday, and Friday I go live. Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern.
So that's 5 o'clock Central. Then on the West Coast, you guys are still busting butt working. Cool. Well, I appreciate having everybody on. Hopefully, you know, everything works out for everybody. We are on every other week, right, Carlos?
That's
every other
correct.
week.
Every other
And
week.
of course, morning news, all that good stuff. But I really had a good time doing this one. You guys can see how I've been changing as far as my platforms are concerned, taking in a lot of suggestions from clubs and stuff, how to run the news as far as getting their side out. Sose has been out there, and Danny's been out there. And I have to say, Black Dragon's been out there trying to push the good stuff. Because let's be honest, when you're in news, it's all negativity, which, you know, I wish it wasn't. I wish people would stay out of the news. That way they put me out of business. But, you know, this is a good first step. Everybody coming together. And again, nobody's going to agree all the time because of different generations. But the thing is to come to the table and understand, hey, things can be good, man, if we make it that way. And as Danny said, if YouTube creators can do it because we're a bunch of schoolgirls, so can clubs. But anyway, guys, thanks for coming out. Don't forget to check everybody's channel out and leave some comments and stuff like that, and support everybody. And I don't know if Mike was able to put out the patch address in the link section, but I'll try to get it in there and put it in the description if they don't hit me as they usually do on this.
It's demonsrow.com.
Demonsrow.com is where you can get it. He has a store over there to go ahead and order your patch up, man. I know he was out for a little bit, but he's back in, aren't it? You're back in with the patches?
Yeah, they're back in.
Right on.
All right, guys, we're out of here. They got to go. Hopefully, they're going to get some head or something like that from their old ladies for, you know, being on this long and all that good stuff. We'll talk to you.
I'm going
later.
for a bike ride.
Yeah,
I'm
sure
worried.
you will.
I'm starting to worry about you, Danny. You'd rather go on a bike ride than get. I ain't going to get into it.
My bike ain't never